I'm Jenna again, and today I will be talking more in detail about the symptoms of postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, or POTS, which is a type of dysautonomia, if you haven't seen the introduction video. But basically, POTS is what can happen when the autonomic nervous system in the body doesn't work correctly. And so that means any of the muscles that are controlled by that can have various symptoms, and that would be any of the automatic muscles in the body. So the pupils in the eyes, the heart, the lungs, the digestive system, all of that. And so because POTS can be either mild or moderate or severe, and no person can have the exact same symptoms as another person, there's really no way for me to list every single possible symptom that can happen in POTS, but I have a list here from the Dysautonomia network site, which is dinet.org if you want to look for more information. I have a list here, and I'll just be going through some of the symptoms on this list, and then I'll be talking about the symptoms that I personally experienced before being diagnosed. So, okay. DNet lists the following symptoms. Generalized weakness, fainting or near fainting or lightheadedness upon postural changes, palpitations of the heart, shortness of breath, chest discomfort or pain. And some people only have the shortness of breath or chest discomfort or pain if they try to exercise, because one thing that can happen with POTS is because of the symptoms that you can have, you can also end up being what's called exercise intolerant. And what that means is that the exercise triggers your symptoms and may cause episodes in some people. So, like, I myself am exercise intolerant because my symptoms get so severe with exercising that right now it's at a level where I can't exercise, and so my symptoms just get exacerbated by just going up the stairs, or just like if I'm being particularly active, like running, like walking back and forth, trying to get stuff together, that'll kick in my symptoms as well. But sometimes it can affect sweating, so like loss of sweating or excessive sweating, a bunch of gastro problems, so that would be like nausea and like troubles with digestion in general, bloating after meals, bladder dysfunction, and other things like that. Extreme fatigue is really common with POTS, and that is because of the way that the condition works. The body with POTS is basically in like marathon mode 24/7, so it has to put more effort into circulating the blood, and the heart is, and the heart rate is unstable, and the blood pressure is unstable. The body has to put in a lot more effort with POTS because the nervous system doesn't work correctly, and so this makes the person very tired. A lot of the time, it's not just normal tired either. It's being tired to a whole new level. And so personally, if I get 8 hours of sleep one night, the next day when I wake up the next morning, I'll feel generally awake for about an hour, then I'll be tired again. Just no matter what I'm doing, I could be sitting on the couch and I'll just get tired again after about an hour. If I get 13 hours of sleep, though, that will last for about 4 hours, then I'll be tired again. It's just my body gets tired so much easily just from trying to keep up with itself. So, and whatever I'm doing, no matter how stressful or mild or idle it is. So this can also POTS can also cause sleep disorders, and that would be caused by postural changes again. And so when I'm sitting like this, I don't have as much blood in my head as I should, just because of how POTS works. And so if I were to lie down, all that blood would then be at a normal circulation level, and then I would have the blood back in my brain again. This would make me more alert. And so a lot of people with POTS have the problem where when they lie down to go to sleep, they can't fall asleep for a while because their brain is now at full blood supply, and now it's working as it should, and now they're alert again. And so it takes a few hours to work through that, and then get tired again and fall back asleep, which can be quite an annoying process for some people who experience this all the time. It's about on and off for me. I've started taking melatonin just to support sleep, and I found that's really worked for me. And so if you're struggling with sleep, I would look into melatonin. because that is a chemical already produced by your body, and so it's not as addictive as other sleeping medications can be. So there was that. Headaches and migraines, dizziness, tachycardia, of course. This can also affect the immune system in people, and so usually what people have a problem with immune systems and POTS is that it's the immune system is overactive, but does not fight off illnesses very well, and so they may have a lot of allergies, but they're always getting sick, and when they do get sick, it's not easy for them to bounce back from it, and so they may be sick longer or have more severe symptoms of the illness, whatever it is, and it can be a whole lot more difficult for them to recover. And there's also the thing where getting a cold would make your POTS symptoms worse, and so you're already tired a lot of the time, but you're also tired when you get a cold, and so it would be twice the amount of tired that you usually are. But so there's kind of that side of it with the immune system. But what I have is with my immune system is that my immune system is very overactive, and so I have the allergies thing, but I also never get sick. I haven't gotten sick at all since last January, so 2015, and that's when I got viral meningitis, and that's what kicked my symptoms into overdrive pretty much, and so I haven't actually gotten sick since then, and so I'm really nervous when I'm finally going to get sick again, because I know it's going to happen. And I've heard all these stories about how terrible it is to get sick with POTS. If you're already sick, you don't want to get something else on top of it. And so I hope I'm not looking forward to that. So that is one downside. But I do have 27 allergies that I know of. I got tested for them in 2013, and I went through scratch tests and the patch test and all that, and it came back with 27 positive results. And so having that high number of allergies is pretty common. Actually, most of mine are mild. There's only a couple ones that I actually have to really watch out for. I mean, my allergist prescribed me to take Zyrtec on a daily basis because Zyrtec doesn't make you drowsy like other allergy medications do, but it also basically tells my immune system to chill out pretty much. Just not every single little thing is a threat, and so I'm less likely to develop new allergies if I take Zyrtec every single day, and I do, and it's because most of my allergies are mild. Just taking Zyrtec is enough to not make me not have to worry about allergy symptoms all day. And so most of my allergies are environmental, so I have about 18 environmental allergies, and so if I take Zyrtec, I don't have to worry about the sneezing or the eyes watering or anything like that. So I don't actually notice a lot of my allergies because I take Zyrtec every single day. So there's only a couple of them that I have to watch out for. And I have a couple different allergy medications for specific ones. I have one for my cat allergy and my dog allergy, and I have another one for my dust allergy. I have about 5 different allergy medications that I can take if I need to. But, okay, I'll get back to the symptom list. Blood pooling in limbs. That is gravity working on the body, and so gravity pulls the blood. If I'm standing for a long period of time, I will get more blood in my legs than up here. So I might look pale up here, but my legs would be red because of all the blood down there, and that contributes to the fainting and the dizziness and all those other symptoms as well, because there's not enough blood up here. Feeling cold all over. Generally, temperature dysregulation is an issue with POTS. I mean, people are easily feel cold and then hot and colder than hot. It's always kind of a battle. I see, I already mentioned that. Low blood pressure upon standing, and so, or some people have high blood pressure upon standing. My blood pressure shoots up very dramatically whenever I stand up from sitting to standing. But my blood pressure drops if I go from lying down to standing too quickly. And so if I just bypass sitting completely and I just stand up, I'm almost guaranteed to pass out. With sitting, if I just stand up, I get the head rush symptoms. I sometimes get vision symptoms, and that's another symptom of POTS actually is vision problems, and that would be because your eyes need a lot of circulation to work properly. And so if you have even just a little bit less than you should, you can notice vision problems like spots or kind of graying out or tunnel vision. I get tunnel vision when I'm going to actually pass out, and that's my key that I need to at least sit down, preferably lay down, and then slowly try standing up again. Usually takes a few minutes for my body to adjust after something like that. But if I'm just sitting and I stand up, I do get the kind of the spots in my vision, and those usually go away after several seconds. My circulation just sorts itself out real quickly, and I'm able to just continue on whatever I'm doing. I always just kind of stand still, just waiting to see what it'll do, just in case. But I just kind of have to be kind of careful with it. Cold hands, I had that symptom quite severely when I first started developing symptoms. My hands were always ice cold. In fact, that's one of the things that told my parents that something was wrong, because my circulation was just so odd, and it would, like, the rest of me would be completely fine, like warm to the touch as it should be, but my hands would be ice cold for no reason at all. So I think that's, hypovolemia, low blood volume. A lot of people with POTS have the problem of having a low blood volume, and so with people with low blood volume, they might feel worse if they drink a lot of water. And I actually start to feel a little sick if I drink a lot of water. And so with people who have low blood volume, it's actually more recommended that they, in addition to having a high salt content in the diet, they would also need to have electrolytes in their system all the time. So always drinking like Powerade or Gatorade or something else that can give them those electrolytes, just because that can help the body handle water as it should a little bit better. Noise sensitivity, light sensitivity, aching neck and shoulders, lower back pain, reduced pulse pressure upon standing, hyperventilation, chills. So I'm going to stop there for the list of symptoms. But okay, when I first developed POTS, I don't know when it actually started. I remember some of the symptoms starting when I was like 10 years old. They were mild, and the onset with POTS can be either sudden or gradual. I think it's usually sudden if it's like some sort of outside thing causes it. So like an infection, it might be more sudden then. But causes with POTS can vary so much. Like, it can be something as simple as puberty setting it off. I mean, anything can set this off. And POTS is actually more common in young women, specifically in the ages of like 15-ish to mid-20s is a common onset period. And I was a little bit younger than that when I first developed it, but I did get most of my worst symptoms in that time. And so my onset was actually so gradual that I didn't realize I was getting sick until I was 14 and had all these symptoms. And I had the exercise intolerance, and I had the circulation problems, I had some gastro problems, and I had the head rushes when I stood up, but I didn't pass out back then. I didn't have that problem. I had it mildly back then. And so because I didn't have the obvious symptom that makes a doctor think, oh, this might be POTS, which is fainting or dizziness upon standing, because that's a definite postural or the static issue. They didn't think of POTS at first. So my parents took me to the doctors. I went through all these blood tests. They tested my thyroid. They tried my adrenal glands, not working. They went through a whole bunch of possibilities, and nothing led anywhere. Like, it would explain like a portion of the symptoms, but not all of it. And we knew it was all connected somehow. And but I moved states during high school. And so when I was about 16, I moved to Wisconsin. So that kind of interrupted the doctor process there. But also, a little bit after I moved to Wisconsin, I noticed my symptoms getting better. And so, like, I didn't realize it at the time, but I had gotten more salt in my diet, and I started getting electrolytes in more. And so, because that's part of the treatment plan for POTS, I mean, it worked really well with my condition. And so, we just kind of thought, well, she was sick, but it's getting better, so whatever. And so, we thought it was on its way out. We didn't really worry about it anymore. And so, fast forward to last year when I got viral meningitis, and I spent a month and a half recovering from that. And what took the longest in recovery for that was just getting my strength back. And I noticed about 6 weeks afterwards that it was as good as it was going to get, but I was still much more tired than I used to be. My symptoms were back. They were a little bit different, and I knew that this, whatever I had been dealing with in my early teenager years was back. And so I was already seeing a neurologist at that time for something else. And so I just mentioned this to him, and he went through my symptoms, which now my symptoms are just heart rate instability. And so like sometimes like it'll just like go like a roller coaster all day. Just within a few minutes it'll just be all over the place. Blood pressure being kind of the same way, not as dramatic as my heart rate can be, but it is still all over the place as well. I don't have the gastro problems as much as I did back then. I'm not sure why it changed, but it did. Let me think. There's the circulation problems are back, although now they're more scattered, so it's not just focused on my hands as much as it used to be. It's now pretty much everywhere. I'm definitely noticing the postural orthostatic part of this a lot more than I used to. So I'm noticing a greater effect, a greater response to gravity with my body. Like I've noticed if I eat within 2 hours of going to bed, and then I try to lay down to go to bed, I does. I don't want to get too gross here. I get the indigestion symptoms, and then I start feeling it up here from laying down. So I've learned from trial and error that I can't eat before 2 hours before I go to bed, because my body needs to count on gravity to be able to digest it properly. And so I also have a similar rule for, I can't, generally after I wake up I have to wait about an hour before I eat at least, because my circulation hasn't quite figured itself out yet. So that's the general list of symptoms that I have now. The fatigue, I have that still, and every single day, and that gets kind of annoying. And I have the immune system problems, of course, that I mentioned earlier. But what my neurologist did is that he went through all my symptoms, the ones I had when I first started getting all this, and then the ones I had now. And for him, since he's worked with POTS before, he knows the symptoms quite well, and so for him, he was pretty convinced that I had it. And so, but he just wanted to check to make sure. And so he did what's called the poor man's tilt table test, and I mentioned what that was in my last video about getting diagnosed. I mentioned that in there. But he tested my blood pressure when I was in my heart rate when I was sitting, and then had me stand up, and then immediately tested it again. In that couple of seconds between me sitting down and me standing up, my blood pressure had gone up 50 points, and my heart rate had gone up 30 points, and my heart rate was still climbing. So that's a problem with the ANS right there, and he felt that was good, sufficient evidence for him to start getting me on a treatment plan. But other people and their doctors get them through the actual tilt table tests, and he said he would see how his treatment would work at first, and if he wasn't having much success, he was going to send me to a specialist and have me go through the tilt table test to see where exactly my problems are with my ANS, and have a specialist work with me. But so far we haven't seen the need to do that, and because what he started getting me on is working pretty well. He did have to. I got diagnosed in. All this happened in, I think it was April of 2015, and so in June I had an episode that sent me to the hospital because my blood pressure was all over the place. My heart rate was extremely high, and it wasn't calming down just by sitting down. And I had all these other symptoms too, and so he put me on a medication, a beta blocker for that, and I'll go over treatments in a different video because there's quite a list there. But combined with the things he first gave me, so like high salt content, electrolytes, and then the beta blocker, and just kind of watching postural changes when I stand up or lie down or whatever, that we found this combination is pretty effective for me. And so personally, I haven't needed to go through a specialist. So I think I'm going to end this here because it's 20 minutes long. So I will discuss the treatment options and the causes and all that in a different video. So I will talk to you guys next weekend. Bye.